Hi and welcome to another episode of Creating Patterns in Blender. And this time I was thinking that we should try to create this flower here. And as soon as we see a flower or something else that is round and symmetrical, we should think polar coordinates. I go through polar coordinates in one of my 5-minute tutorials, but in short that means that we should use gradient texture of the type radial to fix this. So we start right away. So Shift A, and then I go to input and texture coordinate to get the UV out. So here we have the UV. And right now I would like this center point or this 0 point to go to the center here. And then we use those two nodes that I always use. So you could do a node group out of it if you feel that it's boring to put out those two, but it's a subtract and then a multiply. So then I just drag out and I write subtract and you get the vector mass subtract, and I change these to 0.5 and then I multiply by 2, and as soon as I've done this multiplication by 2 here, then you can see that we now have the center here, and this is -1 on this side and it's +1 on this side. And now we are in a good position to add the gradient texture that I was talking about earlier. So we just drag and write gradient, and we change the linear into radial, so we are now working with polar coordinates. And if I take the factor to the surface, you can see that it now looks like this. So it starts here with 1 and then it goes to 0 here. And to make leaves out of this, we need to split it in some way. And the modulo is really good to do that. So we add a modulo. So Shift A, converter, math, put that in here, and you can use floored modulo. Then what should we put here? You can see when we change that we get more and more leaves. Well, the easiest is just to take 1 and divide with the amount of leaves that you would like to have, because everything was from 0 to 1, so 1/5 will then be 5 leaves. So Shift A again, converter, math, and divide 1 by, in this case, I think it's 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, 8. So we put in 8 here. And when I put that to the floored modulo, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts, or 7 or 8 leaves. Now we need to make this part disappear here, so it are not triangles anymore, but leaves. And we can use a length for that, because a length are 0 here, and then when it increases to the edges it also increases in value. So if we subtract with the length, then we get something that cuts off more here and less here, and then we can get those leaves in. So from the multiply we just drag out and we write length, and we will find vector math length, so take that in, and now it's more or less just to subtract those two together. So Shift A, converter, math, and put in subtract here. And now we have cut everything out except in the center here, but what we can see now is that we have half leaves, so we need the other half as well. And we can do that with the ping pong value, because a ping pong value creates like waves that go up and down in a certain amount that you put in. So if I just take Shift D on this one and we change this into ping pong, then we can change this value here, and when we change this value to something small, we also change these leaves here, so they are now almost leaves. To make them exact leaf, all we have to do really is to take this value and divide it by 2, and that will fit perfectly to this ping pong value, because then we get this wave that goes up and down in the perfect amount of scale here. So if I just duplicate this by Shift D and divide that by 2, you will now see that these leaves are now perfect in amount. So there should be 8 nice leaves, but we also should make them more round. Right now they are really pointy, and that we can do with the power node, because a power, as you know, if you use a power, it's you're using your own value and multiply. So if you use a value that is higher than 1, like 2, then you use 2 times 2 is 4, so that gets really high. But if you use a value that is less than 1, like 0.5, then you can take 0.5 times 0.5, and then that result will not be increased, that will be decreased. So a lower value will then yield even lower result. So that means that these pointy things that have increasing value will then have decreasing value, since everything here is below 1 in value. Hope you understand that. But if not, you can visually see how it works here. So if I go to power here and then drag this, I can go out a bit here and drag this down, you can see that we get more round here, like this. Now you get really round, and if you take it up, you get really pointy. So you can control it with this. So we would like to have a round, we can perhaps have something like 0.1 or something like that. And then we get these round values. It will not be perfect like this, but close enough, because this is the easiest way to do this. We can do it a more complicated way to get it really nice here, but then it will be more nodes that we need to use, and I think this is, as I said, close enough. Okay, so the thing we have left now is to make this white, this black, and this white, and this black again. And that we can easily do with a color ramp here. So we just add that. So write in color ramp. See if we can find it. Here we have the color ramp. And we can put that into the surface here. And we can change the linear to constant, since it's either white or black that we should use here. And you can see here, when we drag this, you can then see that we get in some white here. But you also see that we need to drag it rather far, so perhaps we should add a value in here to increase this value so we can work more easily. So we just take this, subtract and copy by Shift D, put in an add, and now you can see that now it's easier to work with. You can even take it up to like 6.6 or 6.7. So now it's easy to work with. So somewhere here to have some white in the end, and then we press this plus sign, change this to white, and or we can do like this. So we have some black and some white. So then we just try to measure around here, and then we need some black here. So then we add the black and we go down with the white. So we get something like this. As I said, it will not be perfect because now this is really round here, and to make that we need more nodes, and it will be even more complicated because, as you can see, this go out a bit here, so that we had to do a specific thing just for that one. So we just say this is nice enough to show you how it works with polar coordinates and so on. And after that we can also add some scaling of repetition of tiles and so on, so we can use it on a wall, and that is very easy to do. It's just to add a scale and a fraction here. So we can take this, subtract, Shift D, change it to scale, and then we can copy this one by Shift D and put that to fraction. And if we do that, let's see if we can find fraction here, then we can just add it like this, so we get more in, and then we can use it for a tile wall or something like that. And if you want to combine this pattern with tile wall, then just check on one of my earlier tutorials. I think the one with squared patterns, because there I show you how you can combine the pattern with this tile wall stuff here. So, but this is how you work with it. So now you have learned a little bit more about polar coordinates and how you can use that to get something that is close to this image here on the right. So hopefully you learned something today as well, and I just say bye for now and see you later.